Are you feeling worn out and downtrodden and exhausted by your job search? Are you feeling like you're never going to find a job and you're going to be stuck in teaching forever? Today, I'm going to talk about 3 mindset shifts that you can make to help rejuvenate that job search. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome to Teach No More. Wow, that was oddly high pitch. Hi, welcome to Teach No More, where I help teachers leave the teaching profession and move into a career that lets you take paternity and maternity leave paid, both of them, like my role. Hey, that's pretty fun, right? My name is Sean, and I'm a professional coach who specializes in helping teachers stop teaching and start living. So today I'm going to talk about 3 mindset shifts that you can make to help rejuvenate your job search and help feel a bit better about the process that you're currently going through. I've been there. It's exhausting. It can feel overwhelming, and just take a few deep breaths and just relax. I'm going to help you out. Okay? All right. So the first one that you want to do is you want to think about playing the long game. Job searching is not a short-term thing. You can't do it on a short game. Sure, yes, there are people out there with the stories of, well, I just applied for a job and I got it. 2 weeks later, bada bing, bada boom, done. Okay, I don't know why this guy is a Southern Italian, but whatever, that's what he is. Okay. Typically, it's going to be a long-term thing. And each time that you send in an application, or you contact an employer, or you contact a potential boss, or you do whatever the process is that you're working on, okay, it might take a while for that to kind of matriculate through a system, okay? Or it might take a while simply to get to the point to where you're actually applying for jobs, right? In my coaching, I actually recommend that there's several steps to begin before you're actually out there applying to things, because a lot of people that I talk to say, I don't know where to start. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm lost, right? I'm scared. I'm afraid because I don't know. So for me, I work with clients and we spend time in the beginning establishing, well, here's some things that we need to lay the foundation of a house, right? Before we're off applying to jobs. It's great to just, okay, start applying to jobs and, the shotgun approach, right? That most people recommend. Bad advice, okay? I do not recommend that advice. But typically, shotgun approach, send stuff out there, see what happens, and refine from there. It's one way to do it. I don't think it's good. I think it's terrible for teachers, okay? I have my approach. But you might be building that foundation for several weeks before you get your first job application out. And that's fine, right? But if you don't think about the long-term approach, playing the long game, that can be very frustrating, right? Or if you do the shotgun approach, and you don't hear anything back, which you almost surely won't in the shotgun approach, right? You don't hear anything back for months at a time. That's very frustrating. And if you're not thinking about the long run, the long game, right, then it can become overwhelming and you get into a negative mindset and you start spiraling downward. I'm never going to get a job. I'm going to be stuck in teaching forever. I'm never going to find anything. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And you just cycle downward, okay? If you keep the long game in mind and you keep that perspective, similarly to when you're teaching students, right? You never walk into a classroom with your lesson plan and think, today's the day I change all of their lives, right? I don't know, maybe you do. Maybe I'm a weird teacher, but I never thought that, right? I thought today is one tiny piece of the puzzle to hopefully help some of them change their lives, right? Okay, so I always walked in, and I'm sure that you do too, walk into the classroom, or you deal with a student, or you deal with a situation thinking this is a piece of the puzzle and the ramifications of this are not going to be seen for a long time. Okay? And those of you that have been teaching long enough to have heard back from some students, you know how it goes, right? I think people who haven't been in teaching so long, maybe you're still kind of in that, yeah, everything I do is the bee's knees. All right. So similarly, when you're applying for jobs, the stuff that you are creating right now is not necessarily going to pay off tomorrow. It might take a few weeks. It might take a few months. And if you're not ready for that, you cycle downward. So keep the long game in mind. The second thing to keep in mind is that, as I just talked about, the shotgun approach does not work very well. And that is the quantity approach. Send out hundreds of applications. You need to be sending out 10 applications a day. There's people that recommend this, okay? The more applications you get out there, the better chance is that you're going to hear back from someone. It's the old-fashioned sales approach, right? Appeal to the largest amount of people and you get the one bite. And you only need the one bite, right? That is not the way that I ever recommend going about it. I did that at first and it was a big mistake. And now that I've refined my strategies over the course of a long period of time, and now that I have my system in place, that is the system that I use to help people find jobs, right? And the way that I found a job, and it's been refined. The quality of your application or of your contact or of whatever it is you're doing is far, far more important than the quantity of how much you're doing. One strong application or contact or message or anything that you're doing, one strong piece is much better than 10, here it is, okay? It's the same thing when you're teaching. You already know this. I mean, I'm not telling you anything new, right? When you make that really strong one-on-one connection with a student, okay, and you take time to get to know a student, maybe it's that student that's struggling a lot. Maybe it's a student that you know can get good grades and they just don't, right? Maybe it's a student that's just quiet and for whatever reason your school requires participation points and they can't get that grade up because they're not participating, right? And you take the time to connect with that one student and you help him or her overcome whatever challenge it is that they have, and they achieve great results, okay? That is quality over quantity, rather than just come in and just say, hey guys, we need to participate more, moving on, right? Or, hey, I really need your effort to go up, moving on, right? That's the quantity approach. I've told all 30 of my students, or 40, or whatever number you're fortunate or unfortunate enough to have in a classroom, right? I've told them all, I put it out there, and they'll do whatever they want to do with it, and I'll move on with my life. Well, that's the quantity approach. And you already know it doesn't work, right? So I'm not telling you anything new, but it's good to be reminded of it, and it's important to think of it specifically for your job search. So quality, make every time that you reach out to someone, make that the most important thing of your day. And only reach out to one person a day maybe. Or if you apply to a job through an ATS, make that the one application you do that day. Heck, if you're very busy and you're not in a super big rush to find that next job, right? Maybe you think, I have one more year of teaching in me. I can find a job after the end of that year. And you're not on a timeline where some teachers are on a timeline. They've already submitted their resignation and they're looking right now, right? Maybe just send in one application a week and you take several hours on that application to make it a top application. That's better than 10 a day. 10 a day doesn't bear any fruit, okay? You can find tons of information of people who have applied to thousands of jobs and, I only had one interview. Well, that's the reason you only have one interview, right? Okay, so quality over quantity is going to win every single time. All right, the third tip to keep in mind is, I'm going to set this up a little bit because I like stories and I just like talking about stuff, right? So I'm reading this book. It's called Atomic Habits. If you if you watched my beardless face unmasking video, I'll link it here just for the humor of it, right? If you watch that, you saw that I kind of showed that I'm reading that book, right? So in this book, Atomic Habits, it talks about the way of thinking of process versus outcome based. Now, I actually talk about this in my coaching packages, and I talk about this a bit in my free guide. If you want to grab that free guide, I will link it in the description below. It's 8 pages. It's going to give you the roadmap of how to move from teaching into another job. And it's free. I can't believe that I have that for free, but there it is. Okay. So in this book, it talks about processes versus outcomes. And focusing on outcomes is what a lot of people do, right? You're focused on getting the job. You're focused on getting the interview. You're focused on getting contacted by an employer. And all of those thoughts are dangerous. They feel good because you think, well, that's my goal. My goal is to get a job. My goal is to get an interview. My goal is to have someone contact me, and no one's contacted me, and damn it, when are they going to contact me, right? But that's where you get into danger, because especially with a job search or something that you do have to play this long game that I talked about, interviews are going to be rare. They just are. A job is going to be really rare. Being contacted is going to be rare enough, right? You might only hit at 10%, okay? 10% might be Hall of Fame numbers for some people. So imagine you put out 100 applications and you've used quality over quantity. So these are 100 quality applications, and you only get contacted by 10%, by 10 people, okay? Those might be Hall of Fame numbers. So if you're looking at outcomes, you are very quickly going to fall into the trap of, boy, I must be doing something wrong, or there must be something wrong with me. That's where the mind typically goes in a job search. There's something wrong with me. I'm defective. I don't have the skills required. This is really common for teachers, you guys. I don't have the skills required. I don't have the qualifications. You know what? I should just find a low-paying base level job because that's all they're ever going to give me. None of that is true. None of it is true. You're focusing on the wrong thing. Don't focus on the outcomes. You can't control the outcomes, right? What you can control is the processes. You can control your own actions. You can control what you are doing, right? So these can be things like focusing on quality over quantity. Maybe up until you've watched this video, you've been sending out 10 applications a day because that's what someone told you to do. Hey, send out 10 applications a day, you're going to find something, right? And now you've switched to quality over quantity. Well, that's focusing on the process. You've now made a change for the better, okay? And you can start tracking where you're going with that. Maybe you've been using the wrong resume format. Maybe you've been using a chronological resume, which I do not advise for teachers, right? I taught this place at this date, right, 10 years ago. I taught at this school after that, and then I taught at this school, and this is my current role here, a chronological order. I don't recommend those for teachers. It doesn't help you, and it makes it more difficult to have an employer be interested in you. But maybe that's what you've been using, right? Change that, okay? So focus on what you're actually doing, focus on your actions, focus on your processes, and don't stop focusing on those. Never focus on the outcome in the job search. Only, I'll say it 3 times because it's that important, and that's what I do with my students, and it always worked. Only focus on the processes that you're doing, okay? Keep that in mind, and always just make it a little bit better. Every time that you send out an application, every time you contact someone, every time you have an interview, every time you do something, you just look for that tiny little tweak to make it a little bit better than the last time you did it. So those are the 3 mindset shifts that you can make to help rejuvenate your job search, to help feel a bit more confident, more comfortable in your job search, to feel like you are doing good things. First one, keep the long game in mind. The second one, remember, quality over quantity. And the third one, focus on what you are doing, what your actions are, what your processes are, and not on the outcomes that they're bringing you. Okay, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button that helps get this out to more teachers, and go out and tell some other teachers about me. That sounds kind of egoish, doesn't it? Go out and tell them about Teach No More. Go out and tell them about the YouTube channel. I have a Facebook group. I'll link the Facebook group in the description below. Join the Facebook group and tell other people about the Facebook group. In the comments section, I would love to hear which one of these 3 mindset shifts that you've been struggling with, or which one you feel might be the light bulb, the epiphany that you've needed, or which one you think that will help you the most. Leave some comments below. I'd love to read them. And of course, as always, I will see you on the next video. Thanks.